Hey, and welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're going to be grammatical detectives, you and I. We're on a case, a very common mystery, actually. The case of the incomplete idea. We're going to uncover these hidden building blocks that make our sentences actually feel complete. So, let's grab our magnifying glasses and get right into it. All right, to get us started, I've got a little puzzle for you. I'm about to show you a few phrases, and as I read them, I just want you to pay attention to that nagging feeling you get. You know the one, where something just feels off, like it's left hanging in the air.
So what is missing? What is that key piece of information that our brains are just automatically hunting for when a sentence just stops cold? Let's take a look at a few of the usual suspects.
Okay, listen to these. She seems what? Happy, confused, annoyed? They named their son. Okay, what did they name him? I find you find me what? Interesting? A bit much? And what about my belief? Your belief about what exactly? See? Every single one leaves you hanging, waiting for the rest of the story. They are literally incomplete thoughts. Well, the solution to this puzzle, that missing piece we've been looking for, it actually has a name. It is a really powerful grammatical tool called the complement. And I want you to think of it less like some boring grammar rule and more like the hero that swoops in to save the day and complete the idea. So what is a complement, really? Well, put simply, it's any word or phrase that is absolutely required to finish the meaning of another part of the sentence. I love to call them idea completers, because without them, all you've got is a piece of a thought. So let's kick off our investigation with the two most common types of complements you're going to run into. These are the big ones, the ones that complete the meaning of the main players in our sentences, the subjects and the objects. First up, we have the subject complement. Now, this guy always follows what we call a linking verb. Words like is, are, seems, becomes. Its entire job is to either describe or identify the subject of the sentence. It basically answers the question, the subject is what? Or maybe the subject is how. Let's break this down a bit. Look at he is a teacher. The complement, a teacher, tells us what he is. Simple enough. In she is charming, the complement charming tells us how she is. You see how a teacher and charming are absolutely essential here? Without them, the sentences mean nothing. Okay, let's move on to our next person of interest, the object complement. This one's a little different. Instead of working on the subject, it completes the meaning of the direct object. The thing in the sentence that's being acted on by the verb. It either renames that object or describes it. Check out these examples. We chose him leader. The word leader totally completes the thought by renaming the object him. Or, I painted the door green. The word green describes the object, the door. You can almost picture a little equal sign between them, right? Him equals leader. The door equals green. It's totally essential information. So, we've seen complements complete subjects and objects, which is a huge part of their job. But guess what? Their work isn't done yet. They can also be required to complete the meaning of other parts of speech, specifically nouns and adjectives. This brings us to the noun complement, and this one is so important. It's used with abstract nouns, words like theory, belief, or hope, and its job is to tell us the actual content of that noun. It answers the question, the theory, that what? The belief, that what? Now this brings up a really important distinction. What's the difference between a complement and just a plain old modifier? Look here. On the left, that the monkey is our ancestor gives you the essential content of the theory. It tells you what the theory is. But on the right, that you told me, well, that just helps you identify which theory we're talking about. It doesn't define the theory itself. So that's the key. A complement gives you the core content. So, just like some nouns need a little help to feel complete, some adjectives do too. An adjective complement is just a phrase that follows an adjective to finish its meaning. Without it, that adjective just kind of feels vague. For instance, if I just say, I am fearful, you're immediately thinking, fearful of what, right? The phrase, that they are lost, completes that idea. It's the complement. Same with, he was hesitant. Hesitant about what? To see her. That complement is absolutely necessary for the sentence to make any real sense. All right, now for a really fascinating puzzle. Sometimes you'll see a phrase that comes after a verb, and it looks like a direct object, but it doesn't quite act like one.
So how can we, as grammar detectives, tell the difference? Well, we use a simple but really powerful tool, the passivization litmus test.
So this test helps us find something called a predicator complement. Here's the deal. A key feature of a true direct object is that it can become the subject of a passive sentence. For example, I painted the door can easily become the door was painted by me. A predicator complement, on the other hand, is required by the verb, but it totally fails this test.
It's a super simple 3-step process. First, find the phrase that comes right after the verb. Easy enough. Next, try to twist the sentence around and make that phrase the new subject in a passive form. And finally, you just listen. If the new sentence sounds completely broken, then bingo! You've found yourself a predicator complement.
Let's see this thing in action. Take the sentence, this bag weighs 50 kilos. Okay, if we try to make it passive, we get 50 kilos is weighed by this bag. Yikes, that sounds completely wrong, doesn't it? That failure tells us that 50 kilos is not a direct object, it's a predicator complement. Same for the flight took 2 hours. You would never, ever say 2 hours was taken by the flight. The test proves it every time.
Okay, so we've identified all these different types of complements, but you might be wondering, why does any of this even matter? Why spend all this time dissecting sentences? Well, because understanding these structures, it's the key to clear, powerful, and effective communication.
You know, complements aren't just these random grammar rules you have to memorize for a test. Not at all. They are the actual engines of clarity in our language. They're the tools we use, consciously or not, to make sure our ideas are fully formed, precise, and actually understood by other people. Let's just go back to where we started. On the left, we've got those vague, incomplete ideas. He is, my belief. And then on the right, just by adding a simple complement, they transform into complete, solid thoughts. He is a teacher. My belief that Henry is lazy is very strong. I mean, the difference is night and day. It's everything. As the linguist Roderick Jacobs put it so well, a complement specifies the content of its head noun. And really, that's the big takeaway here. Complements provide the essential content. They take an abstract concept and give it real substance. So the next time you're writing an email or reading an article, keep an eye out for these idea completers. Because now that you can spot them, you have to wonder, what other hidden rules are out there shaping how you communicate every single day? Keep digging, and thanks for joining me on The Explainer.